Well, hello and welcome, beloved ones, to this time to take a moment to reflect. Remember, as we begin our moment of reflection, that you are infinitely precious and unconditionally loved for the gift you already are. I want to talk a little bit today about catching our breath. Now, I've talked about it before, and but I want to talk about the catch in the catching your breath. And what I mean by that is when we breathe in and just before we breathe out, there's that little tiny space. When we breathe out and just before we breathe in, there's that tiny space. And I want us to take just a moment to imagine that between the things that happen in our lives and our way of responding to them, there is a little space, a space that exists between what happens to us, around us, and there's a space between that and what we do about what has happened to us. We may think that there is only one way to respond to any given situation. It may be that whenever we feel ourselves caught up in the moment, we say the most angry, mean thing we can think of to say. We want to get the last word in. Whatever it is, all of those kinds of things are often unconscious responses that we've built up over a lifetime as a way of protecting ourselves. And it's good to protect ourselves. I don't want to take away that desire to protect yourself. But oftentimes the patterns we use to protect ourselves now are the patterns that worked for that elementary school kid, that toddler, that small child within us. And now we're adults, and perhaps there's another way to respond in any given moment. But we need to choose something other than the patterned response that is somewhere unconsciously ready to jump out at any given moment. And so if we could find a way to choose differently, and I want to suggest to you that that happens in the space between what happens to you and what you do about it. And a way to kind of accentuate that space is to catch your breath. As you breathe in, you hold it before you let it go. Before you, as you've breathed out, you catch it before you breathe back in. And you use those catches to recognize that even if it only seems like a nanosecond of space, so little that you can't even imagine what it is, there is a space. And if you could be attentive enough to this moment and this space, if you could find that inner peace within, that brief pause within, you can respond in a way you choose to respond, not just in the patterned way that you have traditionally responded. And just as a way of practicing, what I want to invite you to do right now is in between breaths to breathe in, to hold it, and while you're holding it, just recognize what a gift your breathing in is. Right now, it's a gift. That right now, in this moment, there's enough of you. You have enough strength. You have enough, anything that you need in this moment. You're all you need for this moment. Here you are. Hold it and recognize you're enough. Recognize you are loved. Recognize that you matter. And you can do that if you hold while you've taken in your breath, just before you release, And you can just say it quickly to yourself. You can do the same thing after you breathe out. And just before you take that next breath, I am loved. I am enough. I get to choose how I respond in this moment. Now, sometimes your responses are limited, and there are some things that happen in your life that you need to react to quickly. If you've been driving your car long enough, you recognize that there are reactions that happen almost automatically when someone runs out in front of you or someone slams on the brake. You, in your muscle memory, slam on your brake, or whatever it may be. You change, you swerve, you do something reactive, and that's part of your brain's function, your body's function of protecting you. But there are other moments when you don't have to react so quickly. You do, but you don't have to. Those are the moments that I want us to cultivate as a practice. Now, see, I take as my model Jesus. He takes a pause before he responds in any given moment. And I want to invite you to take that breath, catch yourself in that catch in your breath, and realize there may be more space there, and that you can choose not to react the way you always have, but in a different way. Now, maybe the way you have reacted in the past is appropriate sometimes, but maybe it's just a reaction that you are following through like on automatic pilot. And maybe you don't want to be on automatic pilot anymore. Well, this little practice might help you begin to catch yourself in those moments so that you can choose what's next. You can choose as much as possible what you say, what you do. If you say, if you do, you don't have to always do something. Sometimes the choice would be better to not do. But you get to make those decisions, and each moment contains those. So practice that little catching in the catching of your breath. Catch yourself catching your breath. You can't do it every moment, but as you begin to develop that attention to the moment you're in, you can also begin to gather attention, trusting that maybe something within you, something beyond you, maybe God within you, can give you the will, the strength, the courage to choose something a little differently in this responsive moment. It's a thought, and I encourage you to give it a try. It's very helpful. I find it helpful in my own life. So, but until the next time, don't forget, you are infinitely precious and unconditionally loved for the gift you are right now. And what a gift you are. Thanks for joining me today.